Hi, you guys. We're in the decimal packet. Remember, it's spiral bound. It should say decimal of the day at the top. Today on your schedule, it says do your decimal packet page 4. So there's going to be a 4 in the upper right-hand corner. And your decimal should be 0 and 745 thousandths. Now, I know this is going to seem very similar to the place value packet. They're overlapping a little bit, but that's okay because we need extra practice. In addition to this page, you'll also be doing a problem-solving page today. So go ahead and listen in, and here we go. Okay, so remember when we write it in word form, you're going to write it exactly how you hear me say it or you read it out loud. So I'd like you to try this on your own. 0 and 745 thousandths. I want you to write that out, okay? You guys know how to do expanded form, but let me help you get started. Even though there's a 0, you're definitely gonna include it because it does take the place. So it's 0 times 1 because there's a 0 in the ones place. And then we put an addition sign to indicate that we're moving to the next digit. The next digit is a 7, but it's in the tenths place in the decimal area, so we need to put parentheses. I take the digit itself, which is a 7, and I multiply it by the place it's in, which is in the tenths. But in order to write that properly, I need to write it as 1/10 or 1 over 10 because it's tenths, not tens. It's not 70, it's 7 out of 10. But this is how you write it, 7 times 1 over 10. So I want you to finish that by doing the 4 and the 5 with the parentheses in the proper order, okay? Remember when we add, we're going to go ahead and stack by lining up the decimals. So I'm adding my 0 and 745 thousandths to 3 and 6 tenths. So if you stack that, which I need you to, it's going to look like this. The reason why it has to be lined up like this is because the rule is to line up the decimals. That's going to ensure that you get the correct answer. If the decimals are lined up, the other digits will fall into place. If there are blank spots here, just put in zeros so you know how to add. And then when we subtract it, it's the same thing. We're going to line up the decimals. So it's 0 and 745 thousandths minus 0 and 7 hundredths. So I take my numbers and I stack them by lining up the decimal. There's a blank spot here, but I'll just put a 0 there. And then you guys will go ahead and add and subtract. You guys know how to multiply and divide. You guys do this in your place value packet. Remember, if I'm multiplying my digit, let's just fill this in. This goes in every single spot. If I multiply anything by a power of 10, notice that it's basically taking the number and multiplying it times a 1. Anything times 1 is itself. So we have a little trick that we do where the only thing that's happening is we're building it up by powers of 10, which means the decimal's getting moved over. When we multiply, the decimal moves to the right because the decimal is getting bigger. If it's only one spot, the decimal is going to move to the right one time, and the new number becomes 0, 7, and 45 hundredths. So now it's 7 and 45 hundredths as opposed to 745 thousandths or 0 and. So notice that the decimal just moved to the right once. So the decimal moves to the right if we multiply, and the decimal moves to the left when we divide. So I want you to go ahead and do those. Rounding, comparing, we've done this many times. So if I round my 745 thousandths to the nearest tenths, I look at the digit in the tenths place. It happens to be a 7. I look to the right. The number to the right of it is 4 or less. We let it rest. So it's just going to stay as 0 and 7 tenths. I want you to round the hundredths in the ones place. And then we compare it. I write in my decimal 0 and 745 thousandths, and I need to compare it to 7 and 45 hundredths. Remember, you can only compare the place values of the digits that are sitting in the same spot. I have a 0 in the ones place and a 7 in the ones place. Those are different, and 0 is less than 7. So the alligator mouth should be pointing to the right, and I read this as 0 and 745 thousandths is less than 7 and 45 hundredths. So please make sure you finish this page, okay? And then next time we'll be doing a problem-solving page in the back of the packet. Okay, you guys, we'll check your work when you come to class.